Welcome back, everyone. We're going to be doing it's going to be a pretty full in-depth comparison between the iPhone SE 2020 and the Galaxy A51, which I compared and reviewed all the Galaxy A50, A20, I think the A30 and the A10s, and those are pretty good devices, and this is the successor to those of this year. And these two are both, pretty good budget phones, but as you can see, there's some pretty big differences. Now, I did pay $400 for both of these phones, but I totally got ripped off because you can pick one of these up on Amazon and A51 for like less than $300. So I'll link one of those down below. If there's any iPhone SE2s on Amazon, I'll link them down below too, but make sure they work for your carrier. I think this one will be unlocked, so you can get them down below and help support the channel at the same time. On top of that, I'm giving away an iPhone SE 2020. In order to enter, all you have to do is subscribe to the channel and follow me on Twitter and Instagram. All those links are linked down below, so you can help me out there. But the main thing you're going to see when you look at both of these phones are definitely going to be the size differences. The A51 is noticeably bigger and, chunkier than the iPhone SE2, but it does feel kind of heavier, but it's not like a crazy heavier phone. It's definitely much bigger, that is for sure. On the iPhone SE2, we have a 4.7-inch 750p panel, and it's not a bad looking panel. You have this thing called True Tone, which is nice. If you know what it is, it just warms the display a little bit, which is really, really cool. And it's not a bad panel, you know what I mean? I think, with the iPhone 8 and all those phones, it pretty much stemmed from that. But when you compare the SE2 to something like a Galaxy A51 or any panel that looks like this, you can definitely see how Apple could have gone a little bit better. I mean, you look at the A51, you look at all these other phones like that, even last year to the S10, even like the Galaxy S8, you look at those phones, and Samsung did a better job at that time than what Apple did over here. I mean, this design is a little bit too old for this day and age. It's not a bad or ugly looking phone, but it's definitely dated for sure, especially when you look at the other budget phones from other manufacturers like Samsung with the Galaxy A51. Now that's with the SE2, and with the A51, you have a 6.5-inch Super AMOLED display. It's 1080p, and what I can tell you is the panel is definitely really, really good, and it helps the fact that there's very little bezel on it. You have that hole punch display up top, and when you look at them side by side, you can obviously tell, which one would you rather have? Which one would you rather be looking at every day? And I think a lot of people would rather be looking at the Galaxy A51 over the iPhone SE2. Now with the display, it's not like a 1440p AMOLED display like what you have on the S20, but it's a pretty good display at the end of the day. Really, when I open it up, I was pretty shocked about it, and the A50 had a pretty good display too for a budget phone. And this one, I feel like the viewing angles are a little bit better, and the colors look a little bit better than the previous one. But honestly, I think the viewing angles might still be a little bit better on the iPhone SE2, which is surprising. So the glass, I think, is better on the SE2, but the panel looks better on the Galaxy A51, if that makes any sense. So Samsung isn't trying to make you switch from S20 to an A51 or anything. They're trying to make you buy those ones, so they're still kind of putting, a little bit of cheaper parts in this phone, but it's really not that big of a deal. I think the panel overall looks better on the A51 than on the SE2. Now on the bottom you can see USB Type-C port and headphone jack on the A51 and a lightning port on the SE2. And on the back you can see quite a bit of a different setup. So you have, I think this is glass, I'm not really too sure, it feels kind of plasticky, but I'm just going to say it's glass. So glass backs on both. And look at those camera setups. There's some difference with those camera setups. You have, it looks to be a quadruple camera setup on the A51 and a single camera setup on the SE2, and I'll get into all those in a second, but I think you guys already know what my opinion is on that. Now in terms of the way they feel in the hand and everything, I don't know, I think maybe the SE2 feels a little bit more premium. The sides and everything, it just feels kind of more glossy and a little bit more plasticky and cheaper on the A51. Not saying the A51 is a cheap phone. Another thing, the A51 seems a little bit too top heavy to me because of those camera setups, because of those camera sensors, whereas in the SE2 it's a little bit more even. But overall, the way they feel in the hand is almost the same. I mean, you're going to put a case on it anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. But definitely when you look at them, I think more people would probably end up citing for the A51 than over the SE2 just based off the way they look. But looks are not everything, and this leads me to my next thing. But before that, the iPhone SE2 does have IP certification. It has IP67 dust and water resistance, where there is no IP certification on the A51, so make sure you keep that in mind. But going back to the software updates, this is probably the biggest differentiating factor between these. Now the A series of devices, I don't know how their software lifecycle is just yet. I'm going to say that even if it's the same as the S series of that year, it's still not even that good. You're going to get like 2 years of support and that's it. Whereas on the SE2, you're going to be getting multiple years of support, which is going to be amazing. So you can get this phone now and keep it, 5 years from now and still be getting software updates, which is awesome. On the A51, not so much. Within next year, it's probably already going to be 50% through with the software lifecycle. And then from there, you might get another software update here and there, but definitely between these two, the SE2 will definitely get you much better in terms of these software updates. So if you're going to get down to it, and you want to keep a phone for the longer time, the SE2 would probably be the better way to go in terms of the software. The A51, even though on One UI, the software is okay, but I still would prefer iOS or stock Android over, an Android version with a bunch of skins on it. So that pretty much covers it up there. Now I'll go ahead and do a little bit of a speed test between them. I just dropped the phone. The SE2 has that Apple A13 Bionic chip, hexa-core CPU, and 3 gigs of RAM, where the A51 has the Exynos 9611 chipset, octa-core CPU, and 4 gigs of RAM on the base model and 8 gigs of RAM on the top tier model. And this specific model, I have 4 gigs of RAM, so let's go ahead and see which one is the faster one between these two. Okay, let me go ahead and clear out all the apps in the background, and as you can see clear out here, I have to clear these ones out. Okay, let's start loading these apps up. Let's do Twitter. 3, 2, 1. And the SE2 was a little bit ahead of the A51, but they were actually much closer than I thought it was going to be. Facebook. 3, 2, 1. And yeah, SE2 again was ahead of the A51 for sure. Fruit Ninja. 3, 2, 1. And even kind of like the loading into the game seemed to be a little bit more glitchier on the A51. And you can see we're still stuck on that screen on the A51 for some reason. I'm not really too sure why. Okay, and we eventually kind of triggered into it. I'm not really too sure why that happened. And eventually we do get into it. So that one was really weird. I don't know what was going on there, but definitely I would probably side for the SE2 again. Snake versus Blocks. 3, 2, 1. And definitely SE2 was ahead. The A51 is a little bit behind, so it wasn't like a crazy big difference. In terms of the gameplay, you guys can probably see they're almost exactly the same. But yeah, definitely the SE2 was faster there. Temple Run 2. 3, 2, 1. And it's looking like the SE2 is going to be faster. And the A51 was just a little bit behind it. And I'm not too sure why they're on 2 different versions, because I just downloaded them on both, so maybe there's a different version for Android. But yeah, the SE2 was just a little bit ahead of that one. I want to get into some gameplay and see what the differences are. And of course I get a little bit of a pop-up here. Okay, cool. Oh my goodness, forget it. Let's do Instagram. 3, 2, 1. And they were about the same. Maybe you guys will be able to tell which one's faster with the camera. We do Netflix. 3, 2, 1. And that one actually might be for the A51. That one was the first one that I've seen in a while of a phone being faster than the SE2. We do Quizlet. 3, 2, 1. And again, A51 was surprisingly faster than the SE2. That's really, really surprising. We do Snapchat. 3, 2, 1. That one was pretty close too. Maybe the SE2 was a little bit ahead. We can end it off with Real Racing 3, 3, 2, 1. As you can see, to get into the game, it looked a little bit smoother and just faster on the SE2. For a lot of Android devices, they kind of glitch up a little bit whenever you click them, which especially with these bigger games, it happens all the time. And the SE2, we are already loaded into the game, and we will probably eventually end we are into it on the A51. So definitely this is probably one of the closer comparisons I've done with an SE2 and an Android. When with these two budget phones, you can see I think more times than not the SE2 was probably the faster device, but that's still actually really surprising how close the A51 was, and especially considering the fact that you can pick one of these up for a little bit cheaper on Amazon than this one. So that kind of threw me off. So I think the SE2 was probably the faster one, but the A51 was a couple times faster too, so I gotta give it the benefit of the doubt there. But I'll be doing a full speed test between these two, testing the RAM and all that if you guys want to see it. And I'll be doing a full camera test too eventually, but this one I'll kind of briefly hit on them. Now this is quite a bit of a comparison. So the SE2 has a 12 megapixel camera single lens, and the A51 has a 48 megapixel wide angle lens, 12 megapixel ultra wide sensor, 5 megapixel macro lens and 5 megapixel depth sensor. And even with all those camera lenses, I mean, this one definitely has the side when it comes down to the camera lenses. However, I still think the quality is better on the SE2, and you can actually do portrait mode, which you still have kind of those same capabilities on the A51. But the other thing to keep in mind is with the SE2, you can do 4K at 60 frames, which is really cool. You do not have that capability on the A51. It's not the end of the world or anything, but definitely this is a weird one because I always side for the phone that has the more camera lenses, but in this case, the one with the camera lenses, the quality isn't really up to par with something like an SE2. So really, I mean, I might end up siding with the SE2, but I still like the A51 for having those camera lenses, so it's like a 50-50 tie. But I'll probably talk more about it in my full in-depth camera comparison whenever that comes out. So let's go ahead on the batteries then. The SE2 has a 1821 mAh battery, the A51 has a 4000 mAh battery, and definitely between both of them, the A51 is going to have the better battery life. The battery life is probably one of the biggest downsides of the SE2. They could have increased the battery size, but it's whatever. The A51 definitely has the better battery life and battery size between those two. So if you're going to get one based on the battery life and size, the A51 is definitely 100% the way to go. So I mean, should which phone should you pick up? I'll be honest, if you're thinking about the short term, I might even recommend picking up an A51, man. It's cheaper than the SE2, and on top of that, almost as fast, if not faster sometimes. The cameras, are still kind of up there. Really, the only downside is the software updates, but that's not really going to be affecting you for a while, you know what I mean? Like, if you pick up this one now, it's still going to be good for like 2 years from now, but if you are thinking long term, obviously the SE2 is the better way to go long term. It's going to be lasting for many, many more years than the A51, but it's still super surprising to me how good of a phone this one is and how good of a phone. In these budget phones, these ones are really, really great. So you can't really go wrong with either one. There's pros and cons for both. And hopefully I highlighted all the pros and cons in this video so you guys can make a better decision. But again, all these will be linked down below if you guys want to pick them up from there. But that's really pretty much it. If you guys have any other questions or anything, leave it down in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that'll mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys could hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel, all those things are linked down below. I'd really appreciate if you guys to check it out. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.